Okay, so today is December 8th, 2020. I'm here speaking with Deshawn Lee, who is a patient transporter at Freighter Hospital and Medical College. Hello, Deshawn.
How you doing, Wes?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing good.
Okay, do you mind sharing a bit about yourself with us? Your age, ethnicity, gender, and where you live?
So I am 22 years old, and my ethnicity is African American slash Black, and I am a male, and I live in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Okay. Now, as you know, we've been dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic for throughout all of 2020. The United States has had 15.1 million cases and 285,000 deaths as of today. Wisconsin has had 443,000 cases and 3,983 deaths. And Milwaukee has had 78,380 cases and 789 deaths. What are your initial thoughts on these numbers?
Those are really high numbers for this kind of pandemic going on, and I feel like it should be something that should be done about it. Like I just wish like something like I just wish that like some of these states just like had something to like fall back on if like they can like cure like the patients or anybody that has COVID. Like I just wish there was something for them to like fall back on.
Okay, yeah. Um, so what are the primary things that you do on a day-to-day basis?
Well, mostly I go to work, which is at Freighter Hospital, and I usually just come home and do my homework and take care of my daughter.
All right. And has that routine changed at all since the pandemic started?
No, not really.
Okay. What is it like to live in Milwaukee?
It has its perks. Well, sometimes it could be a little bit like mad irritating. Like it could be like frustrating because sometimes like I look around and there's like shooting going on or there's like people getting into accidents because of somebody's wrong being, and it just feels like not the top place to really be in that much.
Do you feel safe going to the grocery stores?
Not really, no.
Yeah.
It depends on what side of town because I live like on like the south side of town, and over here it's more like it's okay to a certain extent, but still like you have to always like watch your back. You never know what could happen. That goes for everywhere.
And Milwaukee is one of the most racially, it's the most racially segregated city in the United States, isn't that right?
Yes, that's right.
So when you go up to the north side of town, you feel safer, is that right? Oh, the
No,
south side?
yeah, south side.
Okay. Okay. All right, so I want to ask you about when was the first time that you learned about COVID-19, as best as you can remember?
I had a coworker that brought up COVID. Brought up coronavirus, and I just randomly just looked it up because I didn't know nothing about it at all, to be honest with you. And I looked it up, and it just didn't like feel like it just didn't look like amusing or anything like that. So I was like, I was asking around, and that I got more information out of it, and it's bad. Like it's just really, really bad by what I've been hearing. Like for the first time when I heard that COVID-19 was happening.
Do you remember when that was, when you first heard about it?
That was last year. What was it? I think it was September. No, not September. December.
Okay. And so when you first learned about COVID-19, you mentioned that it didn't look all that serious, right?
Hmm.
And as things developed, you started to take that much more seriously.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So I want to ask you a couple questions about the topic of mental health. Do you or any family members suffer from any mental disorders like mood, anxiety, or personality disorders?
That I do not know. What Here, let me take that back. Cause I think my middleest brother, he has like mental health issues, or what is it? What do you call it? So yeah, it's mental issues because he been dealing with it all throughout his 10-year life. So like when he was born with it.
Okay, and how would you best describe that, what he deals with?
So he has to like what wait, what was the question again? I'm sorry.
How would you best describe what your middle brother deals with on a day-to-day basis, or how would you characterize if you had to put a name to it?
Okay, so he has to deal with like emotions a lot. Like he has to deal with like people, like he has to deal with like family issues. It's a lot. And people targeted him, and he feels like everybody's just like targeting him for something. Like it don't matter what it is. Like he could ask for something, and then somebody could just say like assume that he's doing it just for his fun of it, and he just like gets mad about it.
Okay. Has he ever received a diagnosis
Not really, no.
or gone to see a doctor for a diagnosis?
Yes, he has.
Okay. Now, how has the pandemic had any effect, to your knowledge, on how your brother seeks treatment or uh, goes about his daily life?
Can I pass on that?
Sure.
Okay.
And if I may ask, has the pandemic exacerbated his symptoms?
No, not really.
Okay. Okay. All right. So returning to the pandemic, more specifically, what issues are of the biggest concern to you right now with regard to the pandemic?
Catching it, like catching the COVID-19 and spreading it to my daughter or my girlfriend or
Do
anybody.
Okay, do you have any setup routine that your family does when you come home?
Not really. We really don't wear masks around each other that much because we used to each other. So
Okay. So let's move on to school.
okay.
How has COVID-19 impacted your experience with regards to school?
With COVID-19, it's just been a wild hectic when it comes to school because at first I was getting sick. At first, I didn't know what it was, and then I went to the doctor, and come to think of it, it wasn't just COVID. It was just like my original like allergies that was coming up. But I could say that COVID-19 has affected like a lot of people with people that's in school, and I could see why. And it's bad for them out there because it's like they have to deal with it like every step of the way, and I feel like they just like have this mentality where they can't like finish in time, like they can't finish their assignments in time.
Where do you go to school?
I go to school at University of Wisconsin Stout.
Okay, now UW Stout is in Western Wisconsin, but you're living in Milwaukee. So how do you go about getting your education?
Well, I do online and I do lots of reading. So it's like all my professors they lay out like the PowerPoints, they lay out like the assignments, they lay out everything it is. But see, I am more like a in class kind of person. Like I'm not so good with like just reading it. I need to see like something physically, like from a teacher's point of view.
Has this semester been particularly difficult getting your coursework completed on time?
Yes.
Oh, I remember. How, or excuse me, did you have any difficulties with receiving your textbooks on time?
Yes, I have. Yes, it was one class that I kept asking for. Like it was a book that I needed, and it was like 2 or 3 weeks prior to I got it, and I failed like my first test because of it.
What was your experience trying to get that textbook?
I had to call the bookstore and I have to give them my address, and they just literally had to send it in, and it took about like at least 5 to 10 business days.
What were the phone lines pretty uh, crowded? Did it take them a long time to get back to you?
It took them a while, but they got to me as quickly as they can.
Okay. Now, what are you going to school for?
So I'm going to school to become a school counselor, and I'm also trying to work on being a basketball coach for little leagues.
Okay, so are you is that primarily centered around working with younger like K through 8 kids?
Yes.
Okay. If if you are working in as a school counselor or as a coach, how do you think the pandemic would have affected what you were doing?
Well, I can tell you right now that schools it won't be easy as a school counselor, because it's like you have to like take time to talk to students one to one, and I just feel like it's hard for student counselors out there, because they having a hard time finding like who needs help and what they need help with and everything. And as a coach, I won't say like it's bad, but it's bad like coaching in schools, because you can't really like work with them when it comes to this pandemic, because you don't know who has what.
Now, schools to varying extents have been participating in sports or and also electing to skip seasons. What
Hmm.
is your opinion on that?
Can I skip that one?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay. So you mentioned that you work as a patient transporter at a hospital. What has it been like dealing with the pandemic on the front lines?
As far as like inside my job, or is like outside?
Inside, like anything that has to do with your work at the hospital.
Well, It's been a lot that I had to deal with because it was a lot of things that we wasn't doing before that we doing today, and which is like we have to wear a mask. Everybody has to wear a mask. Everybody has to wear goggles. Everybody has to wear like gowns, gloves. And at first, we didn't used to do that. The only time we used to do that was when like it was like a special patient that came in, and it was a isolation patient, and that was the only time that we needed to use those kind of equipments. But now it's like we have to use them daily, like every time when we come in to work and out, because it's like nobody doesn't want to like catch the COVID-19.
How often are you permitted to change your PPE, like your gloves and your masks, which are more likely to come in contact with the virus?
So I change them like every time when I'm touching something. So it's like if I touch a bed, I change them. Like as soon as I get done with the patient, I change like my glove. I change everything.
Were you experiencing any shortages on that protective equipment
No.
throughout the year? No? Okay. So what does a patient transporter do? What are your duties?
So with patient transport, what we do is we grab wheelchairs, we take like patients in wheelchairs and we bring them to their cars. And we also like take like patients to like surgery, and we take them to like get scanned like for anything. Like it could be head, body, it don't matter. And also like we do like script like so we do like temperature checks too.
Okay. Is there a demographic that the people that you're working with skew towards? Old or young? Uh, any particular ethnicity?
I would say probably more old, I can say. So more
Okay.
like in the middle age.
Okay. How has sanitation been? So beyond the PPE, how has been how is the process disinfecting like the handrails and the wheelchairs and whatnot? How has that changed?
Mm, to be honest, it looked like it hasn't really changed, but I can see like a little bit of changes when it comes to like to that kind of situation. But all I see is like people that don't really use gloves that much, and it'd be some people that do use gloves. But to be honest, railing's like really not really a factor. But as long as you wash your hands after like you touch something, then you shouldn't really have a problem.
That you bring up a good point. What what are your coworkers doing uh, with regards to the virus? How seriously are they taking it?
They take it real well. So it's like they do the same thing as me. So they just come home, go to work. Sometimes they go out and have fun to themselves, which I do too, because it's like sometimes I want to get out and just get some air or something like that. And yeah, that's what we all do. I mean, it'd be some coworkers that we like always like talk like outside of work, or we always like go out to a bar or something like that together.
Okay. And how would you say the patients are taking that? How would you say the patients are taking that? I have another question after that.
As far as like taking what, like us hanging out and stuff,
Sorry,
or
no, uh the pandemic, like are
oh,
they are they
um,
wearing masks and stuff?
yes, everybody's been wearing masks. Like, even if we don't see them with a mask, we try to always keep a spare mask with us.
Okay. And Are you, is the area where you work sectioned off from the coronavirus patients? Do you have coronavirus patients in your
Yeah.
hospital?
Yes.
And are you sectioned off from them?
No, not really.
Okay. Uh, so there's a mix of non-COVID and COVID patients.
Yes, but they're just in different departments though. So it's like some is mixed in with the non COVID patients, and some is mixed with the COVID patients. So it's like it's COVID patients like all over the hospital, but it's like they give us a heads up on like who has COVID and who doesn't have COVID.
Okay. So what is the protocol when a patient who has COVID is going to be coming across someone who doesn't have COVID?
Can you explain that again? Like explain it more.
Yeah, so if you're transporting someone who has COVID-19 or someone else's,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a patient that does not have COVID-19, and those two are going to be crossing paths, is there some protocol? Do you move that person out of the way, or does something else happen?
So if we see a person that has COVID, well, whoever has them, they said COVID patient. Like they say it out loud so we can get out the way. No matter where you at, we just move out the way because it'd be a lot of doctors and nurses that be around the COVID patient and they get to their destination like in a hurry. So
Mhm.
it's just our best to just like move out the way.
Okay. And do you get many notifications that you've been exposed to coronavirus from the state health department?
No.
Okay. All right. And now I want to talk about the economy.
Okay.
What concerns do you have about the pandemic's impact on our economy?
I still feel like the city should like be shut down. Like I feel like whoever's still like dying from COVID, like it should be uh uh like a 50 through 60 day what do you call it? Uh
A
quarantine.
lockdown?
Quarantine.
Quarantine?
Yes. Just to make sure like everybody is just like safe and there ain't no more like um spread like ain't like spreading around. Like I just feel like everybody should be on lockdown as far as now.
All right. Now, we recently had an election with Joe Biden winning. Uh,
Mm.
he is now the president-elect. How do you think Joe Biden's administration will handle the economy? Do you think we'll have a slow recovery, a recovery that is slower than what you may have predicted with a Donald Trump administration, or do you think it would be faster?
And you can't really answer that one because it's like some people they bring like they talk a good game, but some people don't really do it. But I'm not saying that he will, or I won't say that he will not. But sometimes, like I feel like uh, I think he might, but it be a process that he won't. But it's just something that you really can't answer. You just have to wait and see like what he will prescribe and that's really why I think about it.
Okay. How effectively do you think the Biden administration will try to control the spread of the pandemic compared to Donald Trump's performance this year?
So Off a percentage of that, I'll probably say like probably like a 95.
So he'll do 95% better or 5% better?
95% better.
Okay. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Then not really. I mean, if he says that he can do it, then I believe him. But like I said, like you never know what could happen. So you can't really expect something and then next thing you know it don't really come true. So it's just like give him like my honest opinion about it. And it's like I feel like he will, but then again, he probably won't.
Okay, yeah. So in Wisconsin, the Tavern League, which is a coalition of bars and restaurants, has been heavily involved in repealing state mandates meant to protect the public and stop the spread. Knowing this, do you think that small business owners should be doing more to control the spread? Or do you think the state government has a greater responsibility to keep these businesses afloat and open?
Can I pass on that?
Okay, yeah. And do you think the presidential race would have turned out differently without the pandemic?
Mm, it'll be more of a challenge. Like it'll be like more like win-win, lose-lose column.
What do you mean by that?
So I feel like it'll be more competitive because I feel like if the pandemic was there, then it would be more like to talk about. But it's just mostly on this pandemic, like what we gonna do about it, what we gonna like, how we gonna survive, how we gonna do this, how we gonna do that. It's just so many questions that you can ask, and really like you can't really get to that point because it's like nobody doesn't know. Like doctors don't know, like governors don't know how to handle this, and they just try to live with it day by day and see how it goes. Which is that's how like all the like pandemics that's going on, like people that's getting killed by it, like that's how it is. Like I just feel like something should be done.
So do you feel that this election was more or less a single issue election?
Pretty much.
Okay. All right. So moving on from the economy and politics, I'd like to talk about your family.
Mm-hmm.
Could you take a moment to describe your family for me?
Like what you like relay on that question again, like that you want to
Um,
know.
so who lives in your household? Is that family or is it roommates?
Family.
Okay, and let's talk about uh, your family, immediate family.
So my girlfriend, she works at St. Luke's. So she's a ED huck. So like she puts papers behind the desk and she checks them into like rooms.
Okay, and what is St. Luke's?
St. Luke's, it's a hospital. So it's on the south side of Milwaukee. And it's more like a what do you call it? It's more like a Christian kind of church, I believe, or I don't know what kind of hospital it is, but it's more like a uh godly kind of hospital, more
Okay,
than more than freighter, basically.
okay. And so what it sounded like is she goes and delivers papers and paperwork transports that.
Yes.
Okay. And is there anyone else in your family?
Yes, my daughter Aaliyah, which she just turned 1, so and
Okay.
that's about it. Whoever lives in my household, I mean, my mom and dad, they stay on the north side of Milwaukee, and I had, well, yes, my mom and dad, and my stepdad too, and my brother, he lives on the south side, like literally like 10 minutes away from me. So I'm basically like I have family like close to me, whoever I need it.
Okay. And how many brothers do you have?
I have two.
Do you have any sisters?
Two.
And so you have one brother who's 10 minutes away.
Hmm.
How about your other three siblings?
So my middle brother, he's in Arizona. He lives with his girlfriend, and my big sister, she lives in Milwaukee, and she has a son, and my little sister, she lives in Milwaukee too.
Okay. And so that would make you one of the middle children?
Yeah, so like second to last.
Okay. So has COVID-19 impacted the way that you, your girlfriend, and your daughter go about your day-to-day activities?
Sorry. Yeah, pretty much because we always do a movie night at the theaters, and they just like shut that down. So it's like it cut off like our fun, which we love to do. We like to go to the movies a lot. And what else? We like going to Sky Zone, and it that was about it. Like it's just like those two are the main two that just like messed up our whole fun, like from COVID-19.
Okay. So when the movie theaters, or with the movie theaters, how long were they open while the pandemic was going?
That I do not know.
If you had to put a guess to it?
I say like about probably like 10 or 11 months probably.
So like February or maybe January?
Yes.
Okay. And were you and your family going to the movie theaters up until they closed, or start taking did you realize that the movie theaters were a possible spreading venue that would be put your family at risk beforehand?
We thought it could be a risk. So we didn't try to like go, and also like who would be paying like $100 just to like rent out the whole movie theater, because that's what you have to do around here. So we just really just stopped going.
Yeah. Okay, and then you mentioned the Sky Zone. What
Hmm.
is Sky Zone?
So it's a bounce house. We love bounce houses, and we usually go, but it stopped when like the pandemic happened and everybody was quarantined from it.
Okay. So has COVID-19 affected the way that you interact with your friends and family?
No.
So currently, what does that look like then?
Well, I still have fun with my friends, and my family still come see my daughter sometimes. And yeah, we really just haven't lost touch.
Well, I'm happy to hear that. Um, so what are the biggest challenges that you personally have faced with the pandemic?
Basically going to work because I've been working since the pandemic happened, and I'm surprised like I haven't been like having any symptoms.
That's very lucky of you.
Hmm.
Have you taken on any new hobbies with the pandemic?
Mm, I've been learning how to like cook more, and I just been learning how to like get my homework done more on time. So it's like I just been trying to like keep myself occupied. And also I've been just like cleaning the room more and more because sometimes like our living room is kind of junky when Aaliyah or my daughter comes in and plays in the living room. So it's like I just try to keep it clean as possible.
Okay. Okay, so now I want to talk to you about, or I want to have a discussion about your community. Does the neighborhood you live in have any sort of like colloquial name?
Not really, no.
Okay, for sure. However, what what do you see most people that you associate with doing uh, just in general?
Basically going out to like bars and stuff. That's all I be seeing.
Do you think less people are going there or more?
Has its nights. So like Friday and Saturday, it be like a bunch of people like packed. College people and people like that just like live wherever. Like they just come down to like go to the bars. That was about it.
How is mask enforcement at the bars?
It's very big. Like you can't get in without a mask. So
Okay. Now, have you had any very localized outbreaks in your neighborhood that you know about?
no,
Are there any communities like, for example, the Knights of Columbus or Elk Lodge that you're a part of?
no,
And are there any online communities, something like a Discord server?
not that I know of. No.
Okay. When you're in like the grocery stores or out in public, what do you feel is the general perception that the public show about the pandemic?
Can you explain that question a little bit more?
Like, for example, you go to the grocery store and there is a Karen who's yelling at the cashier
Mm-hmm.
uh, about mask enforcement or something like that. Does that happen often or not at
No.
all? Okay. So, May 25th, George Floyd was slain by a police officer in Minneapolis, Minnesota. How did you personally respond to the death of George Floyd?
That was tough. I couldn't I couldn't imagine like how that would feel because it would just like destroy me on the inside. And that's something it's just like it's kind of hard to think about.
Now, for the historical record, there was a video published that came out
Mm-hmm.
regarding his death. What are your thoughts on that video?
Can we skip that one?
Sure. Yeah. Did you personally go out to in-person protests?
No.
How did Milwaukee experience protests? Were they big uh, and violent?
It went viral. Like it literally went viral. Like it was people that was right by Miller Parkway, and they just was like walking all the way down to like the north side, and it was pretty big.
Were there a lot of peaceful protests in Milwaukee?
Mm-hmm. Yes, it was literally all over the news.
Were there any curfews that the mayor of Milwaukee or sheriff were trying to impose?
Everybody should be home at 9 o'clock.
And were those well followed by the public?
That I do not know.
What do you think about going to an in-person protest in light of the pandemic?
I mean, I think it's okay, like to a certain extent, because you never know what could happen. Because it could be somebody that can get shot from protesting, or somebody can get hurt. You never know. So it's just best to not like get involved with it. I mean, I stand for them and everything that they do, but it's like I gotta look out for myself too, because you never know what could happen.
Do you feel like there was a particular risk uh, because of the pandemic?
Mm, I don't believe so. No.
Okay. So with regards to the George Floyd Lives Matter protests, is there any extra thoughts that you have on that subject?
Black Lives Matter. That's
Okay,
all.
absolutely. So now on August 23rd, 29-year-old Jacob Blake was left paralyzed in a police shooting in Kenosha, Wisconsin, which is much closer to Milwaukee. What happened in Milwaukee?
Like as far as like what, like
Was there a was there public outcry in Milwaukee?
not that I know of. I don't know.
Okay. Were there any protests
It
that
was
happened for Jacob Blake?
it was protest.
Do you feel like the protests with Jacob Blake ran or were organized in a very similar way with the George Floyd protests?
I believe it did.
And was there any looting that happened in Milwaukee with a connection to either of those two protest movements?
No.
Do you have any thoughts on the shooting?
I think excuse me. I think it's bad that people have to go through with that kind of mess because it's like you literally like you're being shot and I don't know what state of mind that the police was really thinking, but it's like it's just wrong.
How do you feel about police unions right now in their current political status?
To be honest with you, I really don't feel safe.
Do you think that police unions are a threat to
I
Black
wouldn't
lives?
I wouldn't say they're a threat. I know they trying to be better at what they're doing. Like I know they trying to protect the city and everything, but it's like some police it's like they're dirty police. And when I say by dirty, I mean like they'll just try to pin something on you and try to get away with the situation.
And
That's
how do the police unions play into those dirty cops? What's the relationship there?
so with the police unions, I feel like they're in cahoots together with them. So it's like I feel like they come up with a plan just to like get off easy. So it's like I feel like they work together just to like find any excuse to just like pin something on somebody or anybody.
Did the Milwaukee City Council or mayor show any initiative to police reform?
I don't know.
Okay. And my last question is, do you believe that any racial tensions have been particularly, or excuse me, do you believe that racial tensions have been particularly high strung this year, or do you think it's par the course?
I think it's part of the course.
And why do you feel that way?
I really don't have a reason by it. I just feel like it's like all in the process.
Okay.
Like I just think it just go along with the flow. Like it just like it comes through naturally. Like you can't really like have a reason by it.
Sure. Okay, so that was my last question. To end, is there anything that you'd like to add regarding any particular subject that we may have talked about or we didn't get to talk about?
Well, on this note, I just want to say like I hope I didn't offend you or anybody. I just like it's just this is how I feel. So it's like I don't want nobody to take me the wrong way or anything like that. So I that's all.
Yeah, absolutely. And the benefit to this being an oral history is that you are entitled to all of your opinions, and we that's just it. We were looking for public perception. So thank you for sharing all of that with us.
No problem at all. I'm glad I could be a help.
All right, Deshawn, thank you and have a good night.
You too. Have a good night.